Hello, everybody, and just a heads up, anytime you hear me say Kia, I mean Kai. This is Winter Storm Kai, not Kia. So I apologize for that in advance. Other than that, enjoy the video. Thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody, and isn't this a familiar picture? These days, at least. It is February 3rd, early morning, 1:38 a.m. We are watching Winter Storm Kia. They have already named this storm as it's pretty much reeking right through the Sierra Nevada mountains as we speak. It's going to spread over the Midwest, and then it's going to kind of hug the north, as opposed to Winter Storm Gia that kind of came straight across here, and then Harper was the storm that came up towards the northeast that we just had to deal with. And here comes another one, and this is not the only one. In fact, Harper, if you remember, we put this thumbnail out before Harper hit California. And if we go to windy.com now, we can see this is a pretty similar setup. A little bit more south than Harper's approach was, but still enough to cause a winter storm based on the temperatures, and this is why. So you can see on the county by county chart, we have probably 13, 14 states with winter weather advisories. And based on the number of people and surface area of the United States that is potentially going to be affected by this, they have now named it Winter Storm Kia. So it goes by population and the amount of space covered by that low pressure system. So you can see here by the Sierra Nevada mountains, it's a winter storm warning. That is because of the higher elevations. They're expecting 3 to 4 feet of snow. I think it's going to be a little higher than that because some of those numbers have already been hit on some of these mountains. So this storm may outperform. We don't quite know yet. We can look at tropical tidbits and get a kind of an idea of what to expect here. Now you can see the blue over the Sierra Mountains here. Here's a low pressure system, 994 millibars. So we can certainly expect some high winds and surf going on along the coast of California. And not to mention, there are places along where the Camp Fire was and the Woolsey Fire where they are actually evacuating people due to mudslides and road closures, things like that, because the ground is just so unstable because of the saturation. It's impassable. So there's a lot of issues going on in California, and they're starting to make their way south towards Los Angeles more and more as each of these storms pass. As I just showed you, this one is coming in a little bit south than Winter Storm Harper did. So again, though, that doesn't change the fact that the Sierra Mountains get snow, and then it moves into Nevada, and then that spreads across the Midwest, and that is when the storm is going to begin. And there's a reason that this storm is going to hug the north more, and that's because we have some warm airflow actually finally coming up from the Gulf. We can actually see that right here. These are current temperatures right now, so this is even a pleasant sight to see after what we've been dealing with these sub-zero temperatures. We can still see -6s and zeros up by the Canadian border. The wind chills are still certainly there. That is why this area is going to be the target zone for this winter storm, especially the Northeast. Not quite sure yet what to expect. But as of right now, according to tropical tidbits, this was looking like a rain event for the Northeast. So let's just look at this again. Once again, there's the Sierra Mountains. They're getting pounded with the snow. There's no doubt about that. The Midwest is definitely going to get their snow. And then as we move this thing and move into Monday, you can see it moves quickly. So here's the low pressure. We'll back up and we could follow it frame by frame. It begins here, and then you're going to see it here. And then you're going to see it up here come Monday. And even by that time, if I can get this thing to move here. All right, there we go. Low pressure system down here. We can see even Iowa still in the rain zone. That's because of the temperature rise down below in the southern states, keeping everything cold up top, which is, all right, a relief for the bottom part of the country, but not so much for North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, all these states that have been getting hammered by these cold temperatures and storms lately. But we could see here by Monday, the low pressure is kind of centralized by Minnesota and Iowa, and then it's going to move across the Great Lakes. But still looking like rain, unless you're just north of the Great Lakes here, right by the Canadian borders where that line looks like it is. Jet stream dip is about right here, so the Northeast may luck out with this one. But if you notice right behind it, I showed this in the thumbnail, there is a second one right behind it. Going to do the same thing, guys. It's going to hit right into the middle of California. It's going to hit those Sierra Nevada mountains again and then spread out all over the Midwest of the U.S. Here on weather.com, we can already see the effects. This is in Ventura County. I actually used to live in Ventura, California, and this is just one of the minor mudslides they're having, but these are happening all over the place. So really quick here, I want to read this for you. A search and rescue team member was killed and 2 others hurt in a crash during heavy rain. At the time of this article, 40,000 customers were without electricity. Evacuations have been ordered near wildfire burn scars. So they're actually evacuating those areas because of these mudslides. And you know, with bad weather comes flight cancellations. That just comes with the territory, unfortunately. But yeah, guys, windy.com, you can see the first one right here. This one's currently coming up. This one's going to be the northern hugger, and then this second one, we got to wait and see. It all depends on where the jet stream is going to be. Unfortunately, according to what I've been looking into, by the time this one reaches California and then gets across to the Midwest, the jet stream is going to be dipping again in the Northeast. So we need to just wait and see and hope with this one. And we can actually check that second one out here on Tropical Tidbits again. So once again, this is that first round that we're talking about right now, which is Kia. And then as we move forward, this would be Kia right here as we enter Monday. And then we already see the low pressure here in Northern California, just on the border of California there. And then if we follow that one, check this out. This thing kind of stays more in the middle of the country. And then there's an upflow from the Gulf, which could put states like Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana in some severe weather situations as far as rain. If this line here stays the way it is, if the jet stream drops any lower, these states will be in a snow situation as opposed to rain and severe weather. Either way, you don't like seeing these lines. Whenever you see the yellow, that's severe storms. Anything like that, you do not want to see. But let's move forward some more. This is Thursday, February 7th. And then as we move into the 8th, you could see this line kind of goes over the Northeast. And then we got that pink line hugging the northern end of New York here. And then that's going to include Watertown and Buffalo. So it's up in the air right now what this second system's going to do. But the first of which is more important at the moment, looks to me as if it's going to be a northern storm. Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, possibly Chicago. Again, if this dips down a little bit lower, just very hard to tell at this point when we're pretty much at this point right now. So we have a little more time to go before we see what this thing is really going to do. But looking at the 994 pressure and these tight lines, it's definitely packing a punch, to say the least, especially with the conditions going on in California, which are just not good right now at all. And unfortunately, it might get worse before it gets better based on what we're looking at. Like I showed you here, this is what's coming now, this is what's coming after it. And we can even backtrack a little more. We could already see the beginning of another one. This is usually the signs you look for before you start seeing these things swirl, and that's when they make their way towards the U.S., or they'll come up towards Alaska and roll down, or sometimes they'll come straight west to east and then roll up towards Alaska. So, but these have a tendency, at least lately, to be coming down and then swirling right up the coast of California, causing a mess in the Midwest, and then ground zero we call right here, turning into winter storms, and then that's what's putting southern states and then the Northeast at risk for these winter storms. That's including the El Nino, which is why we're seeing the cold temperatures in the south. A little bit of relief now, but for the most part, it's been pretty chilly down there. And really quick, just to show you how that little bit of warm air that's coming up from the Gulf is affecting this, you can see how it's kind of like bowing around the warm air, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong. It's nice to see some warm air for once. We might actually hit 50 degrees in Pennsylvania. That would be unbelievable, but it's going to drop again. But you can clearly see here the counterclockwise spin ripping right through California and the Sierra Nevada mountains. And then that second one is right up here, right off screen. And then when you match it to the water vapor chart, you could see the density of the moisture here. So it is packing a decent amount of moisture. We should see some pretty decent accumulations, especially in the north here. Once we get towards Minnesota, that's when we got to start watching to see what's going to happen in the northeast. Again, more than likely a rain event unless you live along the border of northern New York, but still time for change there. So we will have updates on this moving forward. But until then, guys, thank you so much for listening. Sorry this came out so late. Most of you will see this tomorrow, and we'll have a whole new forecast for that day. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great night, early morning, whatever it may be. Bye-bye.